Sometimes a woman's intuition is razor sharp. While Ryan was showering in the bathroom, a call came in on his phone. It was a local number with no caller ID notification. I picked it up, said hello twice, and asked, "Who's this?" The person on the other end didn't say a word, just hung up. Those few seconds of silence felt almost like a tacit understanding. The caller knew exactly who I was, and I realized there was something unusual going on. I unlocked Ryan's phone and used that number to search on his social media. It was a woman. Her profile picture a soft, cute anime avatar, her nickname Little Peach. She had no notes attached, and her messages were set to Do Not Disturb. Their chat window was spotless, except for one unread message. "I miss you." Just those 4 words made my heart clench. I was almost certain Ryan was cheating. My hand holding the phone suddenly felt weak and weightless. I tapped into her Moments feed. The cover photo seemed to be a picture of herself, hair in a bun, lips slightly puckered, radiating a youthful vibe. She was undeniably pretty. I didn't examine the details. Instead, I took out my own phone and snapped a photo. Her feed had plenty of posts, and I scrolled quickly until one made me stop. She'd written, "For a transfer, I only want $199, 1 cent more, and I won't take it." Below was a screenshot of her chat with Ryan. She had saved him in her contacts as Princess Keeper. She asked, "Where's the $199 you promised me?" Ryan sent her $20,000. She refused and sent it back. "I only want $199, she said. Ryan replied with a string of ellipses, then still transferred her that exact amount. She wrote back, "Do you know what $199 means? It means I want to be with you for a long, long time." Expressionless, I took a photo to keep as evidence. After leaving her Moments, I went into Ryan's transaction history to check all their money transfers. They went on and on, line after line, with no end in sight. The largest and most regular was a $50,000 transfer at the start of each month, continuing for 3 months. Aside from that, there were $10,000, $20,000, $1,000, $2,000, $100, $200, countless transactions, including special numbers like 199, 520, 1314. I photographed every single one. Through it all, I stayed calm, even remembering to mark their chat as unread before exiting. "What's wrong? Why are you spacing out?" Ryan came out of the bathroom, towel drying his hair as he looked at me curiously. I snapped back to reality and looked up at him. He had only a towel wrapped around his waist, his broad shoulders tapering to a narrow waist, 8-pack abs on full display. Ryan had always kept himself in great shape, and some people even envied me for it. With a body like his, as long as he wasn't committing murder or arson, what could possibly be unforgivable? Especially since he was supposedly so devoted to me. I had always believed Ryan's love was mine alone, but now I realized that was only what I had thought. "By the way, someone called you just now," I said. Didn't say a word and hung up. "Maybe check it? Could be a scam call." Ryan took the phone from me naturally, tossed the towel into the laundry basket, and picked up the cigarette pack from the table. "I'm going to have a smoke on the balcony." Since I can't stand the smell of smoke, Ryan always smoked outside, but apparently he wasn't always just smoking. A short while later, Ryan came back in, pulling on clothes as he said, "Babe, I need to go out for something urgent. Don't wait up for me tonight." "What happened? Something wrong with one of Mike's machines?" "Yeah, not sure if it's just bad luck, but it was working fine during testing." When Ryan said the equipment always either froze or crashed in Mike's hands, I told him to be careful, and he replied, "I need to go take a look. If it's too late, I'll just stay over there and not come back tonight." He added, "With Mr. Zhao there too, you know it's serious, there's evidence, even witnesses." I nodded slightly. "Be careful." Ryan left in a rush. I stood staring at the wedding photo on the wall for a long time. I truly couldn't understand. Why would Ryan cheat? And that girl? Who was she? Her face, the money transfers between her and Ryan, her social media posts, they all flashed through my mind one by one until suddenly I caught on to something. My heart skipped. I hurriedly took out my phone. I'd seen that girl before. It was about half a year ago. Ryan had been taken to the police station for getting into a fight. I went to bail him out. Physically, he was fine except for a scrape on his cheekbone, but his demeanor was terrible, eyes fierce, his whole body brimming with pent-up energy. I hadn't seen him like that in years, not since his teenage days. The man he fought was beaten so badly, his nose was bleeding and his face was swollen. It was obvious Ryan hadn't held back. The other man shouted for an apology and compensation, but Ryan just gave him a cold glare. If I hadn't been pulling him back, he would have gone at him again. After things were settled, we were about to leave when a young woman in a work uniform rushed over, thanking Ryan profusely. "Sir, if I hadn't run into you today, I don't know what would have happened. I really can't thank you enough." I paused and looked at Ryan. His face was full of impatience. "I suggest you find another job," he told her bluntly. The girl's smile faltered. "If I had any other choice, I wouldn't." Ryan's expression grew even more irritable. He cut her off sharply. "None of this has anything to do with me. Do whatever you want." That day, Mike had come along with us. As Ryan brushed past her and strode ahead, Mike pulled me aside and said, "Don't you think that girl looks a little like you? Maybe 30–40%? I had just laughed, thinking he was imagining things, but still found myself glancing back at her twice. Now, that memory lined up perfectly with the photo in front of me. It was her. That night, Ryan didn't come home. He returned the next evening, bringing me a takeout box. "From your favorite place?" The line was insane, he said. "You start eating? I'm gonna shower." "Okay," I replied as Ryan headed to the bathroom. I grabbed my spare car key, picked up the takeout, and went straight down to the underground garage. His car had been washed spotless. The passenger seat was set to my usual position. Everything seemed perfectly normal, but that wasn't what I was interested in. I wanted to check the dashcam. I reviewed the footage from yesterday to today. Ryan had driven to the university on the south side of the city. He called the girl, saying just 2 words, "Come down." She skipped up to the passenger side, got in, and soon the sound of kissing and breathless voices filled the car. "Did you touch that old woman?" the girl asked. "Shut up," Ryan's voice was thick with desire. "Tell me, did you? What do you think?" The girl laughed smugly. "You're all mine. Don't beg for mercy later." The way the car sped up showed exactly how eager the driver was. They stopped in a residential complex near the school. The next footage didn't appear until 10 a.m. the next day. Only Ryan was in the car. I sat there in the driver's seat, my entire body stiff, muscles drawn tight. I lifted my hand to shut off the video, but just then, the sound of a ringing phone came through the speakers. It was from Ryan's childhood friend, Zach. "Where are you? Why haven't you come over yet? You're running so late, it's not like you. Don't tell me you went to see your little peach again." Ryan grunted in response. Zach sounded exasperated. "Seriously? This often? You must be for real about her." Zach said, "Come on, Ryan. What do you mean for real? What's real? What's fake? Don't act like I don't know. You were just fooling around, right? How did this turn into something long-term? Weren't you head over heels for Sophie? How did you suddenly end up cheating on her?" That question seemed to stump Ryan. After a long silence, he finally said, "Sophie's 33 now. So what? I don't know why, but once she hit 30, I just started to feel like she was dirty." I sat there smoking, thinking about how long it had been since Ryan last touched me. It seemed to have started about half a year ago, right when my work began to pick up. I was gunning for a promotion, working overtime, pulling all-nighters, running myself ragged. Every day when I got home, all I wanted was to collapse into bed and sleep. When Ryan wrapped his arms around me and tried to kiss me, I pushed him away. "Not now. I'm too tired. Next time." The first time, he didn't think much of it. He even seemed to feel bad for me. The second time, he wasn't as happy, but he swallowed his temper. The third time, he got angry and slammed the door on his way out. I later found him at a bar. I knew it wasn't right, so I put my arms around his neck and let him kiss me hard. That time wasn't pleasant. I even felt pain. Ryan noticed and ended it quickly. That night, he lay with his back to me. For the first time, he didn't turn over to hold me. I felt helpless, not knowing how to fix it or how to comfort him. But he beat me to it, comforting himself first. He told me it was his fault, that he'd been too impatient, that I shouldn't overthink or take it to heart. "When you're less busy, we'll go on a trip," he said. I thought that meant the problem was solved. He was still good to me, even if he no longer held me while sleeping, even if we hadn't been intimate for half a year. He was still good to me, or so I thought. Now he was saying he thought I was dirty. That one word, from the moment I heard it until now, made my whole body go cold whenever I thought of it. My hand, holding the cigarette, shook constantly. The ash fell onto my skin and burned, but it was nothing compared to the sting of that word. Ryan called me, asking where I was and why I wasn't home yet. I told him I'd stepped out to throw away the trash and would be back soon. He just said, "Okay, I'm going to sleep." When I went back upstairs, Ryan was already asleep, lying on his left side toward the edge of the bed, leaving me plenty of space. I didn't climb in. I just sat on the edge, staring at his back all night. I'd met him when he was 18, newly accepted into this city's university. A rebellious teen, he'd secretly changed his application without telling his parents, and as soon as he got the acceptance letter, he ran off without even bringing luggage, just a backpack. His older brother was worried and asked me to meet him at the station. "He's broke, the school's not open yet. Let him stay with you for a while. He's stubborn as hell. If he says or does something that annoys you, just smack him." I thought Ryan's brother was out of his mind. Even if he was just some punk kid, there was no way I was going to live with him. I was ready to rent him a separate place. But when I saw him, he looked so pitiful and so well behaved that I couldn't. When I found him at the station, he was squatting under a big tree, clutching his backpack like a stray puppy. He obediently followed me home, and before I could even suggest he stay somewhere else, he tugged at my sleeve, looking up at me with wide eyes. "Sis, I'm really obedient. I'll cook for you, clean the place, just don't kick me out." I couldn't help but laugh, thinking he was just making things up. But he really did cook for me every day, even riding his little electric scooter to pick me up from work. Because of him, my once empty rental apartment felt warmer, more alive, and my daily commute didn't seem so rushed anymore. We lived under the same roof for a month. Later, I was the one who bought him luggage and sent him off to school. At first, I thought it was just a brief period of living together. But then he told me he'd gotten into that university because of me. He said he'd seen me once when he was 16, and from that moment on, all his hopes had been tied to me. Back then, he was still a boy, bringing me all the sincerity he had, and I fell for him. But now, he was taking it all back, and I had to climb out of the mire just as quickly. I wanted a divorce. "Ryan cheated," I told Kelsey. "What? Wasn't he on a business trip?" I let out a short, humorless laugh. "On a business trip with his mistress." Early in the morning, my 3 short sentences left Kelsey completely stunned. "Wait, let me get this straight. You're saying Ryan cheated, and that so-called business trip was actually him going away with his mistress? How do you even know?" I tossed her my phone. On the screen was a post Emily had made earlier that morning. Ryan, one hand pulling a suitcase, the other holding hers, both smiling happily. The caption read, "Off to elope." Honestly, I'd posted my friend request to her with a half-joking, experimental mindset. I never expected she'd actually accept. Whether she realized I was the one who added her didn't matter. I turned to Kelsey. "Ryan's gone for 3 days. By the time he's back, can I have the divorce papers ready?" Her face darkened. "I'll take care of it personally." I nodded. "Don't tell Zach." Kelsey was Zach's wife, and from what I knew, it hadn't been easy for them to end up together. I'd met her through Ryan, and over time we'd become good friends. Fate is strange. Some people grow old together. Some remain as close as if they'd just met. "I know," she said. "Don't worry." But actually, she hesitated, then shook her head. "Forget it. We'll talk another time. Are you okay? Do you want me to stay with you?" I declined with a weary smile. "My flight's at 10. I've got a business trip too." This is the adult world. Even when you're heartbroken, you still have to make time for work. I gave Kelsey all the photos and dashcam backups I'd taken from Ryan's phone, along with a list of our shared assets. The only small comfort was that we didn't have kids. Kelsey was efficient. By the afternoon of the day I returned from my trip, she'd already drafted the divorce agreement. "Even though he's at fault, you can't strip him of everything. But I'll fight to get you the most benefit possible." I opened my mouth to speak, but she cut me off. "Don't tell me you don't want anything. He's the one who cheated. He should compensate you. Even the money he gave that mistress can be recovered. Mistakes have consequences." I smiled faintly and hugged her. "I never said I didn't want it." "Thank you, Kelsey." She patted my back lightly. "It's nothing. It's just a divorce. I'll be here with you." That night, she stayed with me, and we drank glass after glass. We talked about the past, the future, our hopes, and our regrets, until we both passed out on the carpet. The next morning, I woke to my alarm. I took the day off, put on light makeup. No matter how bad I felt, I still had to go out. I was going to see Ryan. Thanks to Emily's urge to share everything, I'd gotten first-hand updates of their entire 3-day trip. They rode roller coasters, soaked in hot springs, went bungee jumping, things I'd never done with Ryan. He loved thrills, loved that rush of adrenaline, but I couldn't stand those kinds of things. He begged me once to go bungee jumping with him. The kind where 2 people jump together. He said it was romantic, even wanted to take a set of wedding photos like that. But when I stood on the bungee platform, I just couldn't take that step forward. Ryan said it was fine, but I knew he was disappointed. Thinking about it now, there were too many mismatches between us. Back when we were blinded by love, we said being in love could overcome anything. Looking at it now, someone was lying. When Ryan came out, he was wearing sunglasses, his expression calm. Beside him, Emily clung to his arm, chattering non-stop. His steps were light, his face lit up with a radiant smile. She looked coy, girlish, and charming. "Let's come again next time. Okay? On your birthday. This will be our first one together," she said. I raised my hand and called out, loud enough for him to hear. Emily probably didn't, because she kept talking. But Ryan froze mid-step. He shoved her aside and turned toward me so fast, it was like I'd caught him committing a crime. For a split second, I thought I must look like a monster to him. Facing me, Emily clearly panicked. She stood there awkwardly, wanting to move closer to Ryan but too afraid to. In a way, she looked pitiful. Ryan quickly regained his composure and told her, "You go ahead." She jerked her head up to look at him, her lips trembling downward, her eyes filling with tears. She didn't want to leave, so I played the gracious one. "Come along. It's hard to catch a cab here." Ryan's brows knitted together as he said sternly, "Go." His tone made her flinch back 2 steps. I let my smile fade. "Come with us," I said again. Emily was interesting. Most people would have fled in this situation, but she actually followed. I walked in front, Ryan behind me, and she trailed after him. Ryan opened the front passenger door to get in, but I blocked him. "There's something in the seat. Sit in the back. Can't have the young lady riding alone." Ryan looked at me, his face expressionless, though his eyes churned with suppressed emotion. He slammed the door shut with a sharp bang and got into the back seat. The air in the car was thick and heavy. I was the one who broke the silence. "Emily, I have something to discuss with Ryan. Do you want to ride with us? Or should I drop you at your school first?" Being singled out so suddenly, Emily looked flustered. Ryan snapped, "What exactly are you trying to do?" I glanced at him through the rearview mirror. His expression was full of irritation. He was angry, trying hard to keep it in. That only made me feel a quiet thrill, and the smile on my face grew wider. "What's your major, Emily?" I asked. "German," she answered. I raised my brows in surprise. "Same as me. I have a classmate who teaches at your school." I gave her a name. "Do you know him?" Her face changed, and her voice wavered. He's my advisor." I laughed out loud. What a coincidence. In the end, I dropped her back at school. She got out quickly, almost running without looking back once. Then I turned to Ryan. "Where's the apartment you're renting nearby? Let's go up and have a seat." Ryan's gaze never left me. He gritted his teeth and said slowly and clearly, "What exactly are you trying to do?" I smoothed the expression off my face. "I've been disgusting you this whole way. Now, let's talk about the divorce, shall we?" We never ended up going to that apartment. We just sat in the car. Ryan lit a cigarette, silent from the moment I mentioned divorce until now. I didn't speak either. The deliberate provocation all the way here had lost its edge, leaving only a kind of dull fatigue. And while I'd been trying to disgust him, hadn't I also been disgusting myself? I took a cigarette from my bag and lit it. "How long?" Ryan's voice was a little hoarse. "What? How long have you been smoking?" I'm 5 years older than Ryan. When he was still in college, I'd already started working. Back then, the stress of my first job was crushing, and that's when I picked up smoking. Ryan was the one who forced me to quit. He said it was bad for my health, said he'd buy me candy instead, said if nothing else, I could hit him to vent my anger, but to stop smoking. And eventually, I really did quit. I hadn't touched a cigarette in 7 or 8 years. But because of this mess, I'd started again. If you asked me exactly when, I thought for a moment and said, the day after you spent the night at Emily's and didn't come home. Ryan's hand jerked. The cigarette, still burning, fell onto the leather seat, instantly scorching a hole. He hurried to brush it off, but the damage was done. Still, he kept stubbornly trying to smooth it out, harder and harder, until he completely lost control. He kicked the door hard. Damn it. So there's no fixing this, and you're never going to forgive me, right? Right. He gave a short, mocking laugh, pulled out his hand, and reached for the divorce papers. He didn't even read what was written, just flipped to the last page and signed his name. I won't take the house. I'll find time to move my stuff out. Then he stepped out of the car, bracing one hand on the door as he spoke into his phone. I'm not staying at school tonight. Yeah. I'll wait for you at the school gate. Hanging up, he raised his brows at me. When you feel like going to the civil affairs office, let me know. Do you feel powerless, like you're punching a pillow? Frustrated and miserable? That's the point. I curled my lips faintly, tipped my glass, and drained it in one gulp. I knew that maybe at first he hadn't fully processed what was happening, but by now he'd caught on. Ryan had always been an arrogant man. His attitude toward people and situations was, I'm not wrong, and even if I am, what can you do about it? I knew him. I'd even anticipated the kind of reaction he'd have. But no matter how prepared I was, his indifference still hit me. My hand holding the glass trembled slightly. I'd thought, at the very least, I would get an apology. We all want the one who wronged us to show true remorse, because it feels like only then can our wounds be soothed. Otherwise, it's impossible to be at peace. From his 18 to his 28, that was 10 years. My 10 years. I went from an outsider to being pulled deep into his world. He was the one who brought me in. When he loved me, I was his honey. When he didn't, he cut me into pieces. He owed me at least one I'm sorry. The constant grinding of negative emotions pushed me to the edge. I took 2 days off, stayed home, and didn't go anywhere. I cried, I cursed, I broke down, until, finally, I calmed. It was a call from my boss that pulled me out of it. He said there'd been adjustments to the numbers in a contract and I needed to revise it immediately. I opened my laptop and threw myself into work. 2 hours later, I sent over the revised contract. Mr. Zhang will be here next Wednesday. You'll come with me, my boss said. After wrapping that up, I sat back on the couch, suddenly feeling a little lost. Was I really that sad? Ryan was my own choice. No one forced me, no one threatened me. So everything that happened afterward was my responsibility. If I was willing to gamble, I had to be willing to lose. So Sophie, can't you afford to lose? No, I can. On the 4th day after signing the divorce papers, I called Ryan. He picked up slowly, his tone flat. What is it? Are you free tomorrow? Let's go to the civil affairs office. There was a pause on the other end. We'll talk when I get back from this trip. Not sure which day yet. I pressed my voice harder. I need a date. You have to give me a date. I already said I'm not sure. His voice rose, carrying a trace of irritation. I've signed the divorce papers. Are you afraid I'll run away? 2 days, I said. What? I'm giving you 2 days. If you show up at the civil affairs office the day after tomorrow, I'll leave you a shred of dignity. If not, I'll tell all your friends and family about your affair. The second I finished, the line went dead. I could picture Ryan's rage, could almost see him hurling his phone across the room. I didn't care whether he was truly busy or just making excuses. I only cared whether I could get what I wanted quickly. What did surprise me was that the next night, Ryan showed up at my door. What are you doing here? Got something to ask you. What is it? He looked at me and suddenly let out a short laugh. So I can't even come inside now? The sarcasm in his voice made me frown. What exactly are you trying to say? Ryan's face hardened. Sophie, you've gone too far. No matter what, this is between us. You shouldn't be making things hard for that girl. What are you talking about? Don't deny it. His eyes held a mocking glint. You dare say the cancellation of Emily's scholarship has nothing to do with you? Emily who? A low voice came from behind me. Ryan froze. From the bedroom, Ryan's older brother, Henry, walked out slowly, his expression blank as he looked at him. Who's Emily? Ryan glanced from me to Henry. What are you doing here? I'm asking you, who is she? It's none of your business. Say it yourself, or I'll find out on my own. Ryan's lips pressed into a hard line, but he stubbornly stayed silent. I felt a headache coming on. Enough. Go back inside. I'll talk to him. Henry looked like he wanted to say more, but I cut him off. This is between me and Ryan. Stay out of it. After a tense moment, Henry finally retreated to the bedroom. Looking at Ryan, I let out a long breath. I don't know anything about her scholarship. If you had half a brain, you wouldn't have come here about that. If I wanted to ruin her, I could get her expelled with the photos of you two and the proof you've been keeping her. Ryan, I just want a divorce. I'm not here to make trouble. You've been cheating on her? Keeping her? You two are getting divorced? Henry's voice suddenly cut in again. I shot him a look. Can you not eavesdrop? He ignored me, his gaze locked on Ryan, his tone low but sharp. Say it. This is between me and her, Ryan snapped. Stay out of it. Stay out of it. The words were barely out before Henry's fist connected with Ryan's face. You piece of crap. Ryan had never been the type to just stand there and take a beating. Even when he was in the wrong, he'd hit back. The two of them started swinging at each other, and I, without a change in expression, simply closed the door. I had no idea when they stopped fighting or when they left. The next day I arrived at the Civil Affairs office at exactly 8 a.m., took a number, and waited for Ryan. It was only about 10 minutes before he showed up. Without saying a word, he sat down beside me. There was a bruise on his face, and he looked worn out, defeated. Not long after, our number was called. I stood up, but Ryan suddenly grabbed my wrist. His voice was unsteady. That day, I lied to you. I didn't go to see her. I've already cut things off with her. She called me to say her scholarship had been canceled. I knew it wasn't you. I was just happy, because it gave me an excuse to come find you. I never thought about divorce. I've never wanted to divorce you. His voice grew quieter, even breaking slightly. I'd never been able to handle Ryan crying. Back when I agreed to be with him, it was because he looked at me with eyes red from emotion. But right now, Ryan, your crying only made me feel sick. His grip on my hand tightened sharply. He hesitated for a moment, then asked in confusion, "What did you say?" I pulled my hand free, tore the paper in my hand to pieces, and went to take a new number. From the moment this started until now, we haven't actually sat down to talk. You've never asked how I found out you were cheating or what I know. So let's go over it, shall we? About half a year ago, our sex life started to fade. You grew moody, and one night while drinking, you met Emily. Maybe it was because she looked a bit like me, maybe because she was younger, livelier. You didn't hold back. You cheated. And cheating is wrong, no matter what. But to justify yourself, you put the blame on me. You said that after I turned 30, you felt I was dirty. Because of the fine lines on my face. Because my body wasn't as full as it used to be. You said I was like a withered flower you could smell rotting from far away. Ryan, when you use those cruel words to describe me, do you have any idea how disgusting you looked in my eyes? I started doubting myself, wondering how blind I must have been to step right into a pile of shit, and even with it stuck to my shoes, you were still the one complaining they smelled. I stripped away any last shred of civility between us. The divorce process went smoothly, no arguments, no drama. The clerk reminded us to come back in a month to collect the certificate. I nodded. Ryan was already on his feet, heading for the door. "When are you coming to get your things?" I asked. Without looking back, he said, "Throw them away." Of course, throwing them away was impossible. In the end, Henry came and packed up Ryan's belongings himself. Afterward, he cooked a meal and opened a bottle of wine. I didn't refuse. Henry drank fast, downing a glass in one go. Curling his lips slightly, he said, "Back then, I really didn't know Ryan had those kinds of thoughts about you. If I had," I laughed softly and shook my head. "So what if you had? Cutting it off at the start wouldn't change anything now. Regret like that means nothing." Back then, both our families were against us being together. I still remember Ryan saying, "I don't know if I'll regret being with you in the future, but I do know that if I'm not with you now, I'll regret it for sure." "Is that why you chose to be with him?" Henry asked. I shook my head. "No. I just thought the same way at the time." Resting my chin in my hand, swirling the wine in my glass, I said, "When I was in my 20s, I was a lot braver than I am now. Back then, I dared to imagine a future with a boy 5 years younger than me. And now, I don't even have the courage to start a new relationship. I'm not even sure I'll ever want to start one again. Sophie. Henry's gaze on me was complicated. There was guilt, there was pity, and there was something else I couldn't quite read. I gave him a reassuring smile. Don't worry about me, I just suddenly figured something out. Love, when it comes, it's loud and blazing. When it leaves, it rots and crumbles. What other people give you is never permanent. But that's okay. People die from illness, from poverty, but I've never heard of anyone dying from a lack of love. Maybe I was a little drunk, and since the person sitting across from me was Henry, an old friend, I rambled on for a long time. He just sat there in silence, listening without interrupting once. The next morning when I woke up, Henry was already gone. He'd left a note saying he had to catch a flight and couldn't wait for me. He also wrote that he'd met a pretty good woman, and once he got back, he was planning to be with her. Take care, Sophie. That small distraction from the divorce quickly brought my focus back to work. My busy schedule left me no time to wallow in self-pity, and that in itself soothed my mood. I hadn't thought about Ryan in a long time, until Zach called me. Sophie, I know I shouldn't be contacting you, but in the past 2 weeks, Ryan's been hospitalized twice for alcohol poisoning. I can't stop him. You're the only one who can talk some sense into him. Sophie, he knows he was wrong. Zach probably didn't expect me to actually show up at the hospital, so when he saw me, he looked startled, almost guilty. He quickly stood and gave me his seat. You two talk. I'll go have a smoke. I gave him a disapproving look. Still haven't quit? Isn't Kelsey pregnant? His face stiffened, a bit awkward, and without answering, he lifted his hand in a half wave and walked away without looking back. When I turned, I found Ryan staring directly at me. The moment our eyes met, he quickly looked away. I'd barely opened my mouth when he interrupted urgently. My arm hurts. My left arm. Every time it rains, it hurts bad. Remember that year we didn't see each other for half a year? I told you my dad grounded me. But actually, I was in the hospital. My dad broke my arm. I never told you because I didn't want you to worry. Then why are you telling me now? Ryan looked up at me cautiously. I pulled the corner of my mouth into a faint, cold smile. Honestly, now's a terrible time to bring it up. If you'd told me back then, I would have felt sorry for you, would have thought you sacrificed for me. But now, Ryan, that was your choice. Your own decision to suffer for the person you loved. Whether it turned out good or bad, it's yours to bear. Just like me, when the man I chose cheated, I had to bear it. The glimmer in Ryan's eyes dimmed. He turned his face away. If you won't even give me the smallest chance, then why did you come? I lowered my eyes. I came to tell you not to drink yourself to death, and don't delay my trip to the registry in half a month. Ryan, I want a divorce, not to be a widow. You hate me that much? He growled. Without looking back, I walked out. You must want to kill me, he shouted after me. I left cleanly, no hesitation. Zach looked frustrated. I went through the trouble of calling her here, and you can't just swallow your pride and talk to her properly? Ryan's face was ice. Stay out of it. Even if I die, don't ever call her again. Zach sighed. If you really want to fix things, why are you acting like this? What are you even mad about? Truth be told, I'd never understood it. Ryan had always been composed, steady, no matter what person or problem he faced. How was it that, in front of me, Ryan acted like an immature boy who'd never grown up? He turned his head toward the window and stayed silent. He didn't even know why. He wanted to speak to me properly, wanted to swallow his pride, but when it came to me, all he could feel was the strange, stubborn sense of grievance. Even though he was clearly the one in the wrong, he still felt wronged, as if I were supposed to accept him unconditionally, without asking for anything in return. From the moment he saw me at the airport, Ryan had been unsettled. He was caught between a frantic urge to do something, anything, and the dead certainty that nothing he did would change the outcome. He knew I wouldn't forgive him. Cheating with Emily had been wrong, and after making that mistake, his first instinct had been to cover it up. So when Zach confronted him, he'd lashed out in embarrassment, saying harsh, cutting things he regretted the moment they left his mouth. He'd warned Zach over and over not to repeat what he'd said, otherwise their friendship would be over. In truth, he'd been ashamed, too ashamed to face me. He knew this broken, shabby relationship was destined to be discarded, but that didn't make him any less afraid. Emily had come to him more than once, crying, saying I'd bullied her. I got a court summons, she'd wept, telling me to pay back all the money you gave me. That was your gift to me, why should I return it? Ryan, are you just going to let her treat me like this? Ryan had found it almost funny. I'd always been this way, holding grudges, never letting things slide. If she hadn't falsely accused him, he might not even have thought about reclaiming the money. And like I'd said, if I really wanted to ruin her, I could have gotten her expelled. Emily still wanted to be with Ryan. She figured that, since he was getting divorced, she could finally take my place. But what she didn't understand was that Ryan could be with anyone except her, because she was living proof of his worst choices, the embodiment of his most reckless past. We'd both made the same mistake, and neither of us was something worth keeping. The money was long gone, she couldn't repay it. Ryan filled the gap himself, then told her to stop coming around, or he'd come after her for the debt. She'd left in anger, slapping him across the face and calling him a hypocrite before storming off. Ryan had lost weight, not from her slap or her words, but from everything else. After being discharged from the hospital, he threw himself completely into work, using it to numb himself until the day of our final appointment came. When that day arrived, he didn't stall or try to back out. He followed me quietly, obediently, to get the divorce certificate. I was in good spirits, still carrying myself with the same confidence and poise as ever. As I turned to leave, Ryan suddenly called out, "Sophie, apologize to me." His hands, buried in his pockets, trembled. He opened his mouth, but couldn't seem to force out those 3 words. A flicker of disappointment passed through me. I turned and started walking away. Then he suddenly took a quick step forward. "Sophie, I'm sorry." I stopped for just a moment, lifted my hand in a small wave, and strode off. This time, my steps felt lighter than ever.